Welcome to Law Day 2015, a celebration of our legal system and the rule of law. In Georgia, the Dream Team Planning Committee is at it again, carrying on the Georgia Law Day tradition of an outstanding activity, according to the American Bar Association. This year's program chair, Melody Z. Richardson, and the 2015 committee celebrates Magna Carta, symbol of freedom under law, with the mock trial of the state of Georgia versus Chris Archer. Chris Archer, president of a co-ed fraternity at Columbus College in Georgia, has been charged with murder and criminal hazing. On November 22nd of 2014, 18-year-old Milan Jackson died as a result of a 26-foot fall from the clock tower located in the student center. Was it an accident, or did Miss Archer push Miss Jackson to her death? Pay close attention to the evidence presented by the prosecution and the defense teams of Therrell High School, as you'll be asked to deliberate and render a verdict on the guilt or innocence of Miss Archer. The Honorable Robert C.I. McBurney presiding.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're here on the matter of the state of Georgia versus Chris Archer, and I would like to have the announcement of the parties, the attorneys who will be representing the state, as well as the attorneys who will be representing Ms. Archer.
Leaders generally push you to do your best, but that leader, Chris Archer, pushed Milan Jackson to her death. At the end of this case, we ask you find the defendant, Chris Archer, guilty of criminal hazing and guilty of first-degree murder. Pat Smith says she seen what went on at the top of that clock tower, but Pat Smith and Milan Jackson had not one, not two, but 3 shots of tequila that night. And by Pat's own admission, they was, and I quote, tipsy. So could Pat Smith really see what went on at the top of that clock tower, or is she just mad because she did not get asked to cross over?
Well, they made us do horrible things, like eat dirt, drink large quantities of alcohol, brush toilets with our toothbrushes. Like, who does that?
With your blood level, well, with you having a high level of intoxication, do you think that it was possible for you to have heard and saw everything?
Yes.
No further questions.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the circumstances under which Milan died?
Yes, I am.
To your knowledge, did Milan have any alcohol in her blood when she died?
Yes, I was told she had a blood level of 0.10, which is over the intoxication level.
You knew, although the school ran a campus-wide underage drinking campaign, you knew Milan drank, but you didn't say anything, did you?
Yeah, I knew she wasn't a frequent drinker like that until she started pledging gambling.
But you didn't alert anyone, did you?
No.
So in fact, you weren't doing what was in the best interest of your students, were you?
Why would you say that?
Can you please answer my question?
Dr. Richards, you don't get to ask questions, you just have to answer them. It was a good question, but not your role.
May you read this?
Fortunately, if Chris goes to jail for this horrible crime, as vice president, I will automatically assume her position as president.
Thank you. So, that is why you are here testifying against him today, correct?
The state rests.
All right. Well, let's turn to the defense case then. Who's the first witness for the defense? Dean Jesse Thomas. Come on down, Dean Thomas.
So you're here today testifying on Chris's behalf because you would do anything to make this incident go away and to protect the university's reputation, correct?
No.
So like I said before, if Chris Archer did commit the crime, your university would no longer be the best university with no hazing, correct?
Well, like I said before, the hazing incident happened since I got there only one time, so therefore, one hazing problem was done unnecessary. What do you know about the Gamma's hazing history?
Oh, well, the hazing history started between 1955 and died down between the early 1980s. And between that period, they had a very specific hazing technique known as raising the flag between 1960s and 1970s.
And what did you whisper in Milan Jackson's ear?
She was going to have to raise the flag.
And what exactly did you mean by raising the flag?
Of course, I meant no kind of harm by this. I wanted her simply to just take our flag and hang it outside of our fraternity house.
How did Milan Jackson react when you asked her to raise the flag?
She went completely nuts. She grabbed our flag and took off running towards the clock tower.
Did you go after her?
Of course I did.
Miss Archer, what exactly happened that night on the top of that clock tower?
Milan was a great distance ahead of me, but I tried to catch up to her as best I could. By the time I got to the top of the stairs, she was already trying to raise our flag on top of the clock tower. Before I could even get near her, she ended up falling.
Isn't it true that you pushed Milan off that tower?
Of course I would never do something like that.
You were charged with criminal hazing, correct?
Unfortunately.
And first-degree murder.
Unfortunately.
These are serious charges, correct?
Yes, they are.
With serious consequences.
Yes.
Possibly jail time, right?
Yes.
And you would say or do anything to avoid going to jail, wouldn't you?
I will only say the truth.
No further questions, Your Honor.
At the end of the day, after you have heard everything, as you have heard everything, I would ask that you notice that Chris Archer has not been a good leader, that Chris Archer has hazed, that Chris Archer is a murderer who pushed Milan Jackson off that clock tower.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we ask that you find our client, Chrissy Archer, not guilty of murder, not guilty of voluntary manslaughter, not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, and not guilty of criminal hazing. Thank you.
She has caused students to be paddled, to be put in the hospital, to be threatened, to eat dirt, to clean toilets with their toothbrushes. What more evidence do you need? So once again, I ask you all at the end of today to find Chris Archer guilty of criminal hazing and first-degree murder of Milan Jackson, someone who died before her potential was realized. Thank you.
Count 1, we found the defendant guilty.
Count 2, not guilty. 3, guilty.
On count 4, we found him guilty.
In count 3 and 4, we have a hung jury.
Count 1, we the jury find the defendant guilty.
Count 2, we the jury find the defendant not guilty. Count 3, we the jury find the defendant guilty.
And count 4, we the jury find the defendant not guilty.
Just real briefly, why did you guys think murder?
Because, like, all the evidence that he gave us, like with the cruelty and hazing and stuff, and then ain't nobody finna just accidentally fall off no cliff.
There you go. I want to thank again everyone, this time extending the thanks to our jurors as well. You had to give up a morning of your time, but it was an important exercise. And thank you here in Savannah and in Tifton for participating. Court is adjourned.